Hi, good day everyone. Today we have an attacking game, king hunting. This game was played by Mikhail Tal against Lyunov in 1949. So let's start. White played e4, c6, d4, d5. We call this defense the Karokan defense. As white here, you have many options. You can play knight c3, the classical line. You can even play e5 if you want to play the advanced variation. But here, Mikhail Tal played e takes d5, the exchange variation. Okay, black took the pawn, and again this time you have you can play c4, which we call this the pan of attack. It's so aggressive line for white, and you can play bishop d3. And this opening also for white is a favorite of Bobby Fischer against the Karokan, right? So this is what happened in the game. So let's continue. The idea of this is obviously to control this diagonal, preventing black to play bishop f5 and just developing a piece. Here the main move is to play knight c6, attacking the pawn on d4, then white can play c3. In the game, black played knight f6, Mikhail Tal played h3. h3 to prevent bishop g4 or knight g4 once white will play knight to f3. h6, bishop f4. Here, this move is a strong development of piece. It prevents queen c7 idea. It controls e5 also. Having this opening against black is you need to control the e5 square. Black played e6, knight f3, then bishop d6. Tal noticed that after e6, he has a bad bishop, right? And obviously, this pawn structures on light squares. Tal trade this the protector of dark square, the bishop, so that he can control the e5 square. Okay, bishop takes d6, queen takes d6, then c3, knight c6. Both players castle here. Then Mikhail Tal played queen e2. Idea of queen e2 is to develop a piece, also to protect or to control the a5 square. Rook e8. Now we are now in the middle game stage. You need to centralize your piece. Knight e5. Beginners will capture the knight. Obviously, that's win for white. It attacks the queen and the knight on f6. Okay, that is a fun error, right? Queen c7. Mikhail Tal played f4, cementing the knight on e5. If you're familiar with the stonewall attack, you can use this idea. So the idea of f4, not only cementing the knight, but there's a possible where this pawn can push on f5 at some point. Knight takes e5, f takes e5, right? Knight h7. How you evaluate this position? Why white has the advantage here? So it's very important to identify why you have the advantage. Let's compare the pieces. Bishop on d3 is too strong. This bishop is bad. Okay. The queen, it's developed, but I think the queen on c7 is not effective compared to the queen on e2, right? So Mikhail Tal played queen h5 here, putting pressure on the king side. So Mikhail Tal is good putting pieces on the opponent's king, king hunting. Rook e7. Now, can you find the move which Mikhail Tal played in the game? So try to post the video if you want. It's a simple move, but it has a deep maneuvering idea. The move is knight a3. What is the purpose of this? Obviously, you want to connect the rooks so that this rook on a1 especially can be activated. But not only knight a3, the idea is to connect the rooks, but also this knight can move on this manner. Knight c2, knight e3, knight g4. Look at that. a6, knight c2, queen d7, knight e3, queen e8, and here Mikhail Tal played a surprise tactics. Rook to f6. Now, what if you take the rook on f6? Then bishop takes knight on h7. What is the follow-up? This is these pawns are weak. Knight g4 attacks uh, h6, attacks f6, queen to f8, then rook to f1. Right? If black would play f5, then check. After this idea, then rook to f3. Mikhail Tal exploited the weak dark squares here, occupying dark squares, attacking the king, and look at this bishop, right? So that is why after rook f6, black played queen to f8. Here it follows rook f4, bishop d7, then knight g4. So if you want to attack the opponent's king, you need to put all your pieces there, okay? Then most of the time, they will play themselves bishop e8, and again, can you find a fatal move here? Obviously, the idea of bishop e8 is black could play now f5 with a discovery attacking your queen on h5. Mikhail Tal saw this coming. Now the brilliant tactics, knight f6 check. You are forced to take it, since this knight on f6 attacks the knight on h7, right? If you move your king, then knight takes. This is winning for white. The knight g5, I think. Okay. After knight f6, knight capture on f6, e takes f6, rook c7. Here, you would think you would play rook g4, right? Since the pawn on g7 is pinned. I think that is still winning for white, but in the game, white just capture the pawn on g7. That is the strongest move. You cannot take it with your queen due to rook g4. You're gonna lose your queen. So king takes g7. Now, if there is an undefended piece, always look for a double attack. What is the move? Queen to e5. And this move attacks the king on g7, attacks the rook on c7. And after this move, black resigned the game. So the main lesson here is once you develop all your pieces rapidly, creating an initiative, trying to exploit the opponent's weakness, especially dark squared weakness. As you can see how Mikhail Tal played in the game, this is an excellent example. So guys, thanks for watching. Again, this is Arbs. Have a good day. Bye bye.